NYPD's criminal group database, or as some refer to it as the gang database. The racial breakdown, unfortunately, is extremely disparate, and it almost exactly mirrors our gun violence shooting. African American, 65%, white Hispanic, 24%, black Hispanic, 10%, approximately 95% people of color.
The gang database is definitely similar to Stop and Frisk, if not more pervasive. Some people have referred to it as Stop and Frisk 2.0. The NYPD gang database is a black box of secrecy that until this day nobody has really seen the inner workings of it. So the way that we understand the NYPD gang database at the moment, it only serves the function of being another tool of mass criminalization that creates this blanket guilt by association treatment of communities of color. So it's very problematic because it does not afford people a right to have noticed that they've been labeled. You do not have to commit a crime to be entered. They say that the following is the criteria for which an individual will be entered into the database as an identified gang member. Must check a box. So an individual will be entered if he or she admits to membership during a debriefing. Or through the course of an investigation, an individual is responsibly believed to belong to a gang and is identified as such by two independent sources. But notice how independent the sources are. There you have situations where the labeling is occurring from extensions of the NYPD. You live in a known gang location. If you have colors associated with gang, you have scars or tattoos that are associated with gangs. If you do hand signs associated with gangs. So the consequences for a young person who's labeled on the database range anywhere from, if they are processed through the system once they're arrested, that label will be used against them immediately, as I mentioned earlier, by the district attorney to request for actual bail being set on this person, and they'll use the alleged gang affiliation as a reason to request for the higher bail. And at the time of trial, if they are sentenced, they'll face enhanced sentencing guidelines. No notice, no opportunity to challenge, no opportunity to get removed from it.
In fall of 2017 was when I was actually pulled over by NYPD for what they say was failure to signal on the Grand Central. When he pulled me over, it didn't seem like he was putting me up for a signal, but he was all right. It was a regular interaction, you know. He came up, introduced himself, said why he was pulling me over, and gave my license and registration. I thought he would walk to his car, give me a ticket, and just come back. But I was sadly mistaken. And I see the officer walking back to my vehicle. So I'm okay. So he asked me to step out the car. Now I'm confused. So now I'm kind of alert and I gotta wake up a little bit. I'm like, what am I stepping out of the car for? And as I'm talking to him, I kind of felt anxiety on my end. It bothered me because, you know, my brother was killed by a cop during a traffic situation. And the fact that I didn't even know why he was asking me to get out of my car, and I barely believed the reason why he pulled me over, it made me a little jumpy and a little nervous. As soon as I step out the car, he places me in handcuffs. Now he's like pushing me because my body was going left, and he thinks I'm trying to do something. Now he's like manhandling me. puts me in the back of his cruiser. So I'm thinking I'm going to jail for something. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I have a warrant. All this stuff is playing in my mind. And he's not telling me anything, not telling me nothing. So I'm just like fidgeting around a little bit, trying to get comfortable in there for a little short stay, what hopefully it is. And I'm leaning forward and I see the police monitor there and I'm looking at it and I just see a little picture of me on a damn monitor. And next to the picture, it said the letters SRG. And SRG means Security Risk Group. Security Risk Group in law enforcement is a way they identify people who are highly volatile. They identify people as being a risk to them and to anyone. It's just like a high level of violence. That's what they consider that. He goes, so you're coming from work right now. I'm like, why are you asking me all these questions? And he literally says to me, verbatim, are you still banging? And I was like, excuse me? And then he just smiled, his partner smiled, they just looked at me, and my head was messed up. And that was it. They took the cuffs off me, he gave me a ticket, told me have a good night. I left. I joined the gang when I was 12 years old, 20 years ago. At 17 years old, I get locked up. I go to jail, I go to prison, I come home. I have a kid, I start a business. I have great jobs, I'm living my life, I have a whole family now. And to think that me personally, I'm putting it behind me and I'm moving on. And to be pulled over at 32 years of age and still have that label haunt me and basically discredit everything good I've done in my life just because I'm labeled is atrocious.
So the gang database plays a role in the raids in that the people that are labeled there in the gang database are the people that will then be identified and literally ripped out of their communities where the police partner up with different agencies, and so sometimes they'll be part of a larger team that includes the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, ATF, come in around 5 in the morning, knock down people's doors, including helicopters using flash grenades, to then parade the people that they arrested through the blocks of their community and say that these are the worst of the worst and that they are the ones that are causing the havoc in the community.
The day of the raid was September 27, 2011, and I was swept by ATF. ATF came to my housing apartment. At the time, I was housed with my little brother, my little sister, and my mother. It was actually my mother's apartment, and from there, they banged on the door early in the morning, about 5 in the morning. They pulled me out the house, detained me, proceeded to go into my apartment, kind of destroyed my apartment, so to speak, found weapons and drugs and locked me up. I was locked up ever since. Oh, I was charged with racketeering, conspiracy, and possession of a firearm during a drug trafficking crime.
The RICO, which is the use of a federal statute that it puts people facing very harsh sentences. If I am charged with being part of a RICO conspiracy charge, they're going to throw everything that this alleged group did at me at the same level as the person who did it. The idea behind that act was to ferret and really dismantle large enterprises like John Gotti, the Gambino, Al Capone, like really mafia organized crime. Now that is being used against youth.
When I came back to society, I had to start all over with nothing. So if I was that type of kingpin, I guess I would have been coming to society with a business that was being ran while I was incarcerated or something of that nature.
That label doesn't let me think I'm free, you know? I mean, granted, physically I am. Physically I'm able to go and come as I please. Physically I'm able to make decisions like I want to. But when I'm having an interaction with a police officer, I have to tense up. You know, it's how are you gonna treat me because I'm labeled?
But I kind of get the reverse reaction now. I mean, I tell somebody that I was indicted in something like that. A lot of people be like, well, for real? Like, they wouldn't even know because how well put together I am now and how hard I strive to put it behind me. I know that every day while I'm serving this 5 years supervised release time, which is, in other words, 5 years probation, I know that every day I'm fighting for my freedom overall back. For me, coming home in May, I got a job in June. Also, I work with an organization, a youth organization called Friends of Island Academy. Soon I'm going to be a father in December, and to be the best father possible, and you know, to continue to make a way for myself in just a positive manner.
Just because you make decisions at a younger age, when your brain is still developing, when you're still trying to figure out who you are, when you don't know what path you're going to take in life, you know, you shouldn't be held accountable for the rest of your life.